Just navigating how to continue to do my regular job on top of COVID. There was COVID, screenings, COVID testing, and then later on COVID vaccines.
How everything was constantly changing. We would come to work and there would be a new set of guidelines, a new set of rules. We will have learned a lot more from every week to week.
We were faced with several drug shortages, nationwide drug shortages, and coming up with strategies on how to get a hold of those drugs that we were short on, and coming up with alternatives.
All the time I was always getting calls and emails and text messages asking, how are you? Have you been wearing the proper PPE? How are things at the hospital? And I would just always respond in a positive manner saying, hey, I knew that what I was getting into when I signed on at the hospital, and I was more than happy to serve and help sick people.
Most of my family, I always kept them informed of what I was doing, how we were protecting ourselves as an employee with all of our PPE, being careful, and just talking to everybody, letting everyone know, little checkups here and there, checking in with family, friends.
With my family, I wanted to make sure they were kept safe also. So when I came home from work, I was very judicious in making sure that I took off my scrubs and made sure that I had showered, basically. Even the little things, that made a huge difference, as well as reassuring my family that that we will get through this.
I come from a family, my mother is a registered nurse as well, so I think what's been helpful for me is really looking at what the data is and not trying to get caught up with the panic and the hysteria that can sometimes happen on the news. So I think really going back to what are our numbers, what are things looking at, what are the great, the guidelines, and following those rather than getting caught up with the flashy headlines.
My family. So through this whole pandemic, I just always had to think about, what can I do to get us out of this? Obviously, it's not just me who can get us out of this pandemic, but what can I do to contribute so that we can get out of this pandemic, so that me and my family, that we can go back to our normal life.
So what helped me cope during this time of uncertainty was not being afraid of it. There were so many things that we could not control. Being informed, sharing what I knew, learning more, listening to the emerging expert advice and direction that we were being given, and knowing that I was there doing something bigger than myself and supporting others was most important to me, and it kept me grounded.
Mental health, that's a tough one, going into the rooms, and I'm an environmental service aide, and we had to clean the rooms of a lot of these patients, and seeing how some of them recuperated and other of them deteriorated. We're still humans, and sometimes we would go home and to go home crying and not understanding, especially at the beginning when there was little to no contact with the patients. It was heartbreaking, but just try to keep your head up, and it's just have a lot of support from family, friends, from our managers as well. Whenever we felt upset, having their support also, probably pulling us from that unit for a day or two, that would always help sometimes.
On the subject of mental health, it's really important for people to be flexible and adapt in their lifestyle. Having a pandemic made it very challenging, just because nobody's ever been through this, at least in my lifetime. And so trying to understand ways to deal with isolation, especially as a mom, having younger teenage kids, what that has done to them, and trying to learn ways to help them cope through it.
Teamwork and the beautiful people I work with here, is we have just the support that we give each other, the hugs, the tears, the crying. We've all cried on each other's, and that's it. You build your work network, your family, work family, your home family, your friends, and everyone just pulls together, and you cry, you pray, you love, you laugh, and you just find the joy. And that's why I tell people, you got to find the joy in every moment. People say you laugh all the time and at everything. I was like, yeah, well, because what I do is horrible. What I have to see is horrible. And so when you can find a moment that you can find some joy and laughter, you got to hold on to that and hold it tight.